TH4 True Health Forever podcast, where we empower your physical, social, spiritual, and economic health. Consume this content every week with positive energy and good intentions. Join me, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game, and my starlit queen, Sinclair, the health nerd, and share this with those you love. You are strong, you are beautiful, and you are ready to live your best life. Hey, Jamon Lee. Jamon. What is going on, beautiful people? Welcome back to another amazing and impactful episode of the True Health Forever podcast, where we try to live our best life through the lens of holistic health. I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game. And as usual, it is my honor. It is my privilege to introduce you to the beautiful, the smiling, the gorgeous,
honey.
About to get some fresh braids on her flight to Ghana. Hair flipping queen herself. Please introduce yourself.
What's up, everybody? My name is Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd, and joining you on a lovely Sunday afternoon.
There you go. You said that with some confidence. I forgot what day it was, to be honest with you.
I have to ask myself now, as you're doing your intro, I ask myself, what day and what time is it? Gotcha. It's all a blur at this point.
Why is that?
Because I'm an entrepreneur full time, which I've learned in theory. You think like, I have, and we listened to a podcast today. I was talking to this, like, I have more time. I have all this time that I'm gonna be able to use. Realistically, what it ends up looking like is every single day is the same. What's a weekend? I don't know, because we're still here on Sunday, still working. We was working yesterday. So yeah, it's still the best decision I have made in a very long time. I do not want to take away from that, but yes, I feel like that's one thing you don't think about, is like a weekend doesn't mean the same thing anymore. Yeah.
I lost my weekends a long time ago, to be honest with you. So I've been doing that. But first off, we're in a different location because we're doing some dope stuff. We'll talk about at the end of the podcast. But shout out to the Queen for getting us this location. But Queen, I know you have a did you know for the day. Want to give some folks some nuggets. So go ahead and hit them with the did you know.
Well, did you know that your taste buds change as you change your diet?
Interesting.
So basically, if you are used to eating a lot of sweet things, a lot of sugar, if you decide, it's 2022, I'm going to cut out sugar, you'll start to notice that your taste buds, and it's really reprogramming your brain, which I'm sure we'll talk a little bit about today. But basically, you're reprogramming your brain to not be so dependent on the sugar. And this is just one aspect of it, right? It could be salt, it could be sour stuff, it could be spicy things, right? When you cut back on whatever that is, your senses start to adjust. So for example, if you were to eat more fruits and vegetables, which do have, they do have sugar, but they're at the natural levels, right? It affects your taste buds. It affects your brain a little bit differently, rather than eating a lot of processed, hyper palatable food. So, I come from the food and beverage industry, so I know a little bit about, they are literally trying to create products that you cannot have enough of, right? That you have to go back to. So they're typically very hyper palatable. They're very sweet. They're very sour. They're very salty, right? So when you start to cut that out of your diet, you'll notice that your taste buds start to change a little bit. So maybe when you go back to that super sweet thing, like when I have a cinnamon roll right now, don't get me wrong, it's still sinful, but I'm like, ooh, that is sweet. And same thing for like really salty things, like a potato chip now, I'm like, ooh, that's really salty. Or before I would have been like, no. So right. Like what? So that's just one thing to keep in mind, right? As you sometimes, and I say that because sometimes at the beginning of a health journey, you're thinking like, oh, this is so hard. This salad tastes like rabbit food. Like, this is not good. It won't stay that way the whole time, right? It's only because your body is used to, again, the super hyper palatable foods. But as you start to get fruits and vegetables as a greater proportion of your diet, you'll start to get used to that. You'll start to crave, oh, you know what I crave? Farmers market strawberries.
They do hit different. I'm not gonna front.
They're smaller, but they're so good. They're so good. They have like a different type of sweetness, the different type, especially in season. Ooh, yeah, I'm craving one right now. But long story short, your taste buds change as your diet changes.
Nice, and I like that because today our guest is we're covering a kind of a heavy topic, right? But we're going to cover it in a holistic way. But we are covering how can you recover from trauma. And when you were talking about the different types of food, right? You're talking about cinnamon rolls, when you're talking about potato chips, when you talk about soda, all those things are abusing your body, right? You're literally putting yourself through some type of internal trauma to your taste buds, to your body, to your cells every time you're eating some of those foods. And now your body is now addicted to that trauma. And now when you eat a vegetable, when you eat something that's good for you, your body doesn't know how to react and it rejects what's good. And I think sometimes in our relationships, we've had negative relationships with ourselves, with our parents, with our friends for so long that when we see a good relationship, we reject it because it's not what we're used to.
Dang, King, that was deep.
I host a podcast every single week with my wife, you know. So what we're going to do today, we're going to get into the founder and one of the holistic health coaches behind Music, Mind, and Wellbeing. The Ann Phillips is going to join us. The queen from across the pond. This is our first international guest. Love it. So y'all are in for a treat. Queen, are you ready?
Am I ready? Are you ready for some podcast?
All right, we're out.
Cut me off a little soon there.
Did I?
Yeah, you did.
Oh. I was trying to help Ann out. What's going on? Ann, welcome to the party.
And I was just vibing to like your intro music. I love it. I love just seeing like Sinclair getting her dance on. Exactly. It's okay, Sinclair. You can sing. You can carry on. I was listening.
I appreciate you.
That's all right. I love the way that you guys started with the connection of the gut brain connection, because it is so real. Because when you were like just quickly discussing that, when you have eaten so much of the salty stuff and so much of the sweet stuff, the problems that you can end up having with that gut brain connection, there it's like all of a sudden you're saying to yourself, oh yeah, people have these resolutions, and this is why they break them, because they have programmed themselves that they are going to have all these salty things, and it's like the body craves and craves, and they don't know how to break through that craving, so that when they come away from it for a short time, and then they go back to it, then they end up with digestive problems, and they're wondering why they're feeling lethargic. They're wondering why they have anxiety. They're wondering why their moods are so low. And it can just be something as simple as you're eating the wrong things. You really are. So it's a really powerful thing to discuss. It really is.
Listen, she came on just straight swinging.
Really?
She said on the podcast, all right, let's go. Gut brain, this way.
Yeah, but that's how you started. That's how you went. I was like, okay, I got to go with that. Yeah, it's like,
love it.
So can you give folks, I know we did a little introduction, but do you mind letting folks know who you are and how you started with Music, Mind, and Wellbeing?
Okay. I'm Ann Phillips, and I am calling from the UK. I was based formerly in London, and then I moved out to a place called Kent. And I started Music, Mind and Wellbeing when I went into the community and noticed that vulnerable adults needed an outlet. And because I'd been doing a certain level of prison ministry at the time, I had gone into the prisons and I was teaching regarding mental health. And it was a natural progression, because I've been in choirs practically all my life. So it was a natural progression to put music together with well-being and their mental health. So we started to get some male prison choirs together. And they utilized that. They would come off the wings. They would want to have Bible study, and then we'd put music together. And it was a case of, you could see the changes that were starting to happen. And then when I came into the community, the vulnerable adults, especially at a particular hub that I ended up working with, there was a lot of adults there who didn't know how to break the addiction cycle. But the one thing that they had in common was music, and they weren't using it in the right way. It was a case of, someone would come in and say, I've literally just had a panic attack about this. And we were able to go through that lesson on the techniques that could be used. So it was starting within the community and then branching out. But the fact that I had been through trauma myself, music had never left my life. So it was that one thread that went through all of my life, all the way into the community, that became music, mind, and well-being.
Love it. And I want to follow up. I want to stay right here because we're talking about the direct impacts that music can have on healing people. And I think people use music or listen to music almost every day, right? Whether it's you're driving to work, you're in the shower, listening to some music, or you're working out, listening to music, commercials, they have music. So can you talk about some of those intentional ways that we can use music to actually heal ourselves? Like, is it certain songs that we should be listening to? Is it certain frequencies? But yeah, like, how can we actually use music as a healing tool for ourselves?
Okay. The first thing is to understand that music is everywhere. Music is powerful, and it is everywhere. Even in what we perceive to be our silence, there is music, because your body is continually giving out a rhythm of its own. So when I say to people, you can do things like take yourself out, no headphones, nothing, and go for a walk down the street and listen for 30 minutes, you will be surprised at the song that is playing out there. The song of the birds, the song of the cars, the song of the police sirens, even as your footsteps and you're walking, eventually you can get into your own rhythm, and that can heal you, because that can still you. That can put you in a place where you're at peace with where you are. So then there is the typical, and a lot of people have heard it, classical music can give you another level of focus. But it's not just classical music, it's music that is instrumental, and it's music that stirs it can be at certain frequencies. We'll talk about that shortly, but it can be music that stirs at certain frequencies, but classical is the most commonly known. So instrumental music is going to give you that focus. If you're studying and you have instrumental going in the background, not something that you want to sing along to, but something that is just there. It is stimulating the brain. Music has the ability, and it's amazing because it has the power to do this. It is the total workout for the brain. We go to the gym for our body. We go to the gym and we work everything out. The pair of you together are cracking me up, right? But what do we do for our brain? Yeah, you can play all the brain games you want, but just put on one track. And if you got under a scanner, you would see everywhere firing up at the same time. Transpose that into playing an instrument, and wow, you're on another level, because the cognitive benefits of playing an instrument is very, very specific in the fact that your focus, your ability to form, to have neurogenesis happen faster, new connections to happen, and new growth to happen faster. It all abounds in that moment, right? So music has the ability to heal on so many levels when you utilize it in the way that you need to for you. And it depends on what the condition is. Go for it, Sinclair. I can feel that question. Yes, come with it.
And the connection that you just made, that just was like a light bulb in my head too, of like you said, neurogenesis, like the new connections in your brain. And I never necessarily made the connection of that to healing, because when you think about healing, and this is kind of what we were just talking about, it requires, right, whatever trauma you might have experienced, right, you have certain pathways, forged in your brain already, that you have to kind of forge new pathways, new ways of thinking, new ways of relating to yourself and the world around you in order to heal. So that's very fascinating that, learning to play an instrument can essentially help your brain not only, forge new pathways to learn how to play the instrument, but learn how to make those new pathways to begin to heal yourself.
Absolutely. A child who's been through trauma may not be able to express themselves or say exactly what has happened to them, or they'll shut down. But music will be able to bring them out of their cells. So they may just start tapping and drumming, or, playing a few notes on the keyboard. But those notes can represent something for them. And so they end up starting to talk to you through the music. Adults do it as well. There's a particular way that an adult will be listening to a piece of music, and to say that they drop their guard is the easiest way to say it. The walls come down, you can ask a question, and then they're more pliable, they're more malleable to being opened and answering the question that has been put to them. So you have to be able to understand where you need to use the music at the time. So when you were talking about the fact of the neurogenesis, as in the new growth and the new connections, I like to say, think of it this way, right? So the trauma has happened and I have to think of American terms. The trauma happened on a certain part of the freeway, right? So you're driving along that particular road, but you need to come off at the next road, because that is where you're going to receive your healing. But the pain of the trauma just keeps that person going on and going on. So they don't know how to heal. But one of the ways that they can be healing, they're driving on that road, they turn on the radio, and there's music that's playing in the background that soothes them, that causes them to want to pull off at the next junction to receive their healing. Now, that freeway, that highway can be someone who was traumatized way back as a child, and they've continued that journey into their adult life, and they've never really dealt with it. And then they become an adult, and then there's a frequency that they get to, a space that they get to, and they're open enough to receive the healing that they need to have. And they go into the varying therapies. And music can open that door a lot quicker than many other therapies. Some people will say, oh, I prefer to do talking therapies or CBT. But the one thing about music, it's like an international language. One word that's known internationally is hallelujah and amen, right? They are two words that are absolutely known internationally. But music is the one thing that no matter where you go, even if they say they are the lost tribe of, they have music. You play music to them and they will be, and before you know it, they've taken down a branch of a tree and they're doing whatever they're doing. So yeah, it's like music just cuts across everything. It's like living water. So it will nourish, it will sustain, and it will provide the way for somebody to be able to speak. Even if somebody is deaf and dumb, they can feel music. I work with a lot of students who aren't able to speak, who aren't able to hear. But what they do is very similar to bats. Yeah. And they have the clicking going on, and they can feel the rhythm. They can feel the sensation in their skin, and they're able to open up from that point. I know it's a lot of information, guys, but truly, it's just that in these areas, there is space that music gives us and puts us in a place to take us from the traumas that were, to take us to the new places that we need to go, so that we change our thinking completely. And that's why my program of neuro remodeling, because that's reframing, that's making sure that your thoughts are in line with what the new connections that have just been made. So you get off the old highway and you move on to the new. So you start to think differently, and you will see the change. You will see the change rather quickly. It's not the old methods of dragging out for an extremely long time, but you still have to be patient,
Right.
and you
And
have to be kind.
you already mentioned your remodeling, and that was the next thing that I wanted to talk about. I wanted to read your mission because it was a powerful mission, and I want to try to tie it to something else. But your mission is to deliver resources and tools that empower people to live authentically through a journey of neuro remodeling that reframes their thinking, supporting their mental health and well-being. Love that mission statement. It is very clear. There's actions in there. But my kind of question is, we've been talking about kind of neuro remodeling and neurogenesis, a whole bunch of cool words. I see y'all, right? Y'all doing your thing over here. But how about for folks that are just trying to be maybe successful? They're not consciously trying to overcome any trauma. Is there neuro remodeling that can be done for people trying to achieve their goals, right? Whether the health goals, business goals, etc.
Absolutely. And that's where mindset coaching comes in. And in that, I just need to know where you're stuck. I need to know why you can't get to that next level. What is it? Is it the fact that, you know, you're so demanding on yourself and you're not kind enough to yourself, that you put that much pressure to be a perfectionist, that in the end you stop yourself, you procrastinate, you delay? So if it's that particular area, oh, wow, am I speaking?
You know,
Hold on there. Hold on. Whoa.
let's rewind. All right?
Coming for me, Ann.
Sorry about that, girl.
Queen, let's sit here. I like this. Queen, why did that hit?
When she was talking about like being a perfectionist and like stopping yourself, I feel like that's definitely something that I try to overcome, because I think that that's something that I've been working on like this past year specifically, because I think sometimes my mindset is like, if you can't do it perfectly, if you can't do it exactly how it should be, then don't do it at all. And I'm trying to switch more to the mindset of like, doing something is better than doing nothing, because perfection, it doesn't even exist, right? There's always going to be something that didn't quite go according to plan, something that needs improvement, but that's okay, right? The progress is that you did something. So I think that, yeah, that's something that, you know, I had been talking about doing health coaching for years, and I just launched it, you know, this year. So I think that's right. One of the things that, you know, the king is very good at getting me out of my own head, because I will think about like, oh, well, I still have to do this and I still have to do this and I have to learn about this. I have to get this certification and all these things before I'm ready to launch, before I'm ready to even step into doing this new venture. When truthfully, it's like, what I've learned is taking that first step, everything becomes a lot more clear. And I don't have to have all the answers before I, you know, make that first step. So yeah, I feel like that's a lot of what was speaking to me when you were saying that.
So what would God, I'm trying to do maybe a little live thing right here, right? So after hearing that, Miss Ann, Queen Anne, what would be the follow-up for Queen Sinclair over here?
Right. First and foremost, I want you to disrupt your thinking. So for you, you said you're thinking about if it's not going to be perfect, you're not going to get it done.
Mhm.
Are you right or left-handed?
Left.
You're left-handed.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever written with your right hand?
Yes.
Okay. How well do you write with your right hand?
Terribly. Absolutely terribly.
Right. Okay. This is something that I would get you to disrupt yourself then. I would get you to do a certain amount of writing per day with your right hand. Why? Because you will not be able to, at this time, have the perfect handwriting that you want. You will get the sentence done, you will get it completed, but it also has a form of reconnecting the brain in another way.
Right.
Because now you're intentionally, as you're writing, you're intentionally having to think about those letters on the paper. And as you do that, you're using different parts of different hemispheres of the brain to create that task. So you look at it and you think, but it doesn't look like no, but you achieved it.
Right.
You did it.
Right.
And you did it every single day. After you've done something like that, journal how you're feeling about it. Because on the first day, I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks. It looks messy. The paper's not right. You just pour everything out there.
Right.
But by the time you get to day 7, by the time you've got to day 21, I can guarantee the feelings are completely different. There's a lot of switchover things that I would get you to do. One of my favorite ones is one of the kiddie ones. It's when we go to put on our shoes, most of the time we'll actually put our shoes on with a particular foot. And we don't even know we're doing it. So if we're wearing sneakers or something, and then we'll do up the laces and everything in a particular way, you have to disrupt yourself and swap it over. Literally, just as you're about to do it, no, stop. Right, intent. Go the other way.
Right.
You are literally disrupting your thoughts right in that moment, just so that you can think differently. Why? Because the long-term effects of this is going to stop you from procrastinating. It's going to stop you thinking, I have to do this thing perfectly. What you'll end up doing is you'll be so intentional. You'll be thinking, let me just get this done. And it's a good way of just moving.
I like that.
You're both nodding there. Yeah.
It's very, very practical, right? Because although it was advice for the queen particularly, that anyone can do that, right? Whether
Absolutely.
you're right-handed, disrupt yourself right with the opposite hand for, I don't know, a week, a month, just challenge yourself every morning to write one sentence. And eventually you see yourself getting better at that and you'll finish it. So yeah, I'm going to practice that. It's going to be terrible because I write bad with my right hand. So I can only imagine my left hand.
I'm ambidextrous, so I'm not really. I mean, I do write with my right, but I've written so much with my left. I've literally become ambidextrous on that. So yeah, I don't mind. Yeah.
Thank you for that.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Any other practical? That was a beautiful practical step. Any other practical things that you have some of your clients do? Maybe one more. I don't want to give away all your secrets, but anything else that you would suggest for the queen or even myself, trying to get to that 7-figure year, which we were just talking about.
Absolutely. One of the ones, and a lot of people, when you first suggest it, people are like, what? Okay, so have you got a book lying around that you haven't read in the house? The pair of you.
Yes.
Okay, so do you know the name of it?
Millions.
Oh, do I know the name of a book? Contagious.
Oh, you've got Contagious. Excellent book. And what about you, Sinclair?
I do.
Queen of Four.
Oh yeah, Sacred Woman.
Oh, okay. Look at me with all these books. Yeah, I read a lot, right? I really do read a lot. So, Contagious and Sacred Woman. Yep. You have to, both of those books, and I'm going to check in on you. So, when would you like to start this thing that I'm going to give you?
Oh, could you like what?
To start?
When would you like to start what I'm about to give you? I haven't told you what I'm about to give you, but when?
Let's start for sure when we come back from Ghana, because I don't want to do any type of excuses to where it's like, oh, we're in Ghana. Oh, I forgot the book. I don't want to have that excuse. So I
was hoping he was not going to say tomorrow. So I'm thankful for that.
No, I'm gonna be realistic, right? So let's start.
Okay.
January.
So that'll be 7th, 8th, 9th. So is that Monday the 10th? Because the weekend will pass, right? So Monday the 10th by Wednesday the 13th, you both have to have read your books, Contagious and Sacred Woman.
Clear the calendars.
Right? Basically, if that's what it's going to take, the whole idea of this is to start something and finish it at a micro level that you would never have done before. Just read. I didn't say study the books. I said just read. Literally just read them. You'll be surprised how much information. You can always go back at another time and study it. But just take those 3 days and make sure that you have opened and closed. Bam. You've done that project. When it comes to breaking the procrastination cycle, that's really an intense one, because in your mind now, once you have achieved that, you always know that you have always done it. You've done it before. I can do this again. And sometimes that speeding up process, because remember, I've given you over like 48 hours, whatever. Yeah. The 3 days
right now.
Yeah.
Exactly. So those 48 hours, it's causing you to speed up. So the next time, Sinclair, you want to go, oh yeah, I really need to get that done. Oh, you know what? I'll do it. I'll start doing it tomorrow. You're going to be thinking, but hold on, I did the book in 3 days. Okay, let me just work this out with Devon. Get it done.
Yeah.
7 figures. I'm coming, baby.
You better watch out now. Y'all better tune in to Music, Mind and Wellbeing.com. Get yourself some coaching, yourself some well-being. Y'all see what she's doing for us in just 20 minutes.
Look.
You got something you want me to keep rolling?
Go for it.
But one of the things that with all of that being said, I have to be able to say that it stems from, and I know you guys wanted to talk about the trauma side of things. So it all stems from being healed from trauma. Yeah. You've got to know where you've come from to know where you're going to. There's no point in just, getting in the car and like, where are we going? I don't know. Because you could end up anywhere. You didn't plan for the gas. You didn't plan for bathroom breaks. Didn't bring no snacks. Those snacks are important. So you've got to know where you come from. And if there is trauma in your life, or you find yourself being triggered by things, this is where you need your healing. And how does someone know if they're going through that? There can be eating disorders. Whether it's heavily overeating or not even eating, or, that real comparison, and that person just looks tiny. So it's a form of anorexia, or insomnia. They're not getting enough sleep, and sleep is so important to us. If someone's running on empty and they're getting 3 hours here, 3 hours there, their mind's not going to function to the level that it needs to. So they need to be able to heal from all of these. And again, music is that way to open that door for them to come to have that understanding. But when you've been through a traumatic life experience, something that could have been really life-threatening, yeah, it could be a case of they're in denial. And so they live their life and stay stuck in a place. And this can actually lead to things like agoraphobia. They don't want to go out. Yeah, agoraphobia, is the fear of going outside. And so they end up for some people, it would be to work, come back, and they don't go anywhere else. They don't do anything else. And eventually they shut their world down and they don't even want to do that. So you're in a very traumatic place when it's starting to affect your daily life. And that's when you're going to a place of depression, because it's affecting your normal functioning.
This is a random, I told you before the podcast that there could be some random stuff that comes up. Okay. So this is going to be a random, feel free to swerve it if you want to, but talking about agoraphobia. Did I say it right?
Agoraphobia.
I think it's agoraphobia.
Okay. Agoraphobia, the fear of going outside, and the environment that we're in now, right? Where we're being by policy forced to be inside. By policy, it can be kind of scary to be around people, right? Can you talk about how do we heal that once the world does open back up? If it opens back up, how do people heal?
There's no if. It's got to open back.
Okay, so we're healing. But how do people, heal from the either agoraphobia that they may have or levels of it that they may have subconsciously because of the trauma that we've all been through as a world? Like, I think
Collective.
2020, 2021, like we've all been through this kind of traumatic experience together. How do we now heal from it so that we can have a regular world where I can come up and try to hug someone and they don't, oh, what you doing? Type thing.
Well, one, agoraphobia won't necessarily be that much of an issue. They need to deal with the anxiety and the depression first. Because the agoraphobia, it will be there. They will have that fear of going out. But there is the anxiety that has started first. And that depression that causes them not to have that function in the first place. So if you're in a place of anxiety, you need to be able to express your emotions that you're going through. Now, we've all been locked down. So there's some people. I didn't actually get locked down because of being classed as a worker that needs to go out on a regular basis. So there are some people like myself who constantly went back and forth, but there are other people who they haven't gone out for an extremely long time. They need to be able to open up on different forums and in different ways. Now, there, especially here, and I don't know how it is in America, but there are talking lines telephone lines for people to be able to express themselves in that kind of way. They need to maybe reach out if they have a good friend, someone that they can speak to be able to open up. But the fact is that you need to be able to be open in the first instance regarding your anxiety. Now, if your anxiety really is a debilitating anxiety and you haven't really got that many people around you, you may want to attempt to do an exercise like writing a letter and just letting someone, like, there's alerts that we have here that you can let the postman actually know. People will put please deliver to the police, or please deliver to, and they'll actually put it on their door, and the postman will take that and the person will get the help that is needed. That's an extreme situation that somebody can reach out and call for help. But there are so many ways that people can just pick up the phone nowadays here to reach out and start the first process. But if you've gone above that and you're not at that complete bottom state, that lowest state, you can reach out to others who are like, we're all in a community. We do not have to be alone. There is always somebody that you can reach out to just say, hey, I need checking in on. I feel that things aren't going the way they should be. Who can I reach out to? There is always someone, maybe one person away, who is willing to help you to get to the help that you require.
I like that. A lot of good tangible stuff in there. Write yourself a letter, express, reach out to somebody. Definitely not going through this alone, y'all.
No.
Queen, you good? Or want me to? I got one lined up.
Go for it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we've been talking about some kind of smaller steps that I think anybody can do either on their own or in their community. But getting specifically to music, mind, and well-being, I did see that y'all have an awake journey, right? So can you talk about your awake journey that you offer? And oh, go ahead. Right. Go ahead.
Okay. Now, the Awake Journey is in 2 parts, because we have the 7-week Awake program and the 12-week Awake program. It is where you flow with the journey and the steps that you require to become your authentic self. And what I mean by your authentic self is people can operate in the level and expectation of others. Yeah. Now we have, especially now with Zoom Nation, we have this expectation that everybody looks a certain way, right? Especially if you talk to the millennials and a lot of the younger ones as well. And it's all about the external. So the pressure for them is that I've got to be like this influencer, or I've got to be like that influencer. And they actually don't. They just need to be themselves. They just need to know who they are so that they can be their ultimate self. And that's what we do. We make sure that you are operating as your authentic self, being on the awake journey. And the awake stands for allow well-being, allow knowledge every day. Right? So it's resources to inspire you so that you can align. It can be that you need to align your past, or it can be that you need to align right where you are, right in the present moment, so that you can get to where you need to be. We challenge your thoughts, your creativity level, because your creativity level, your cognitive ability, it will increase as you make new connections and use new pathways. We challenge your vocabulary. I'm not saying that you have to eat a thesaurus or a dictionary, but we do challenge your vocabulary. We get you to use powerful tools such as I've described to you, such as disruption, the alternative hands, alternative thinking, the disrupting, making you read within a set amount of time, certain projects. There is always homework after the assessments. You will always do homework on every single module of every single assessment. And you're harnessing the power that is within you so that you can live the best life that you need and you want and you desire to have. So remember, it really is, you have to allow well-being to happen, right? But you have to be intentional about that. And then you have to allow the knowledge to be able to work in you so that you can do the everyday application. And that's how we've come to the awake journey.
Love that. And is that 7-week program, or the other programs, is that a virtual experience? Is that something that's on demand? They log in, they can do it anytime. Is that only in the UK?
No, it is a login coaching program that they can utilize at absolutely any time. Both the programs are currently being updated and will be launched on the 1st of January 2022. So as they're being restructured, because the assessments, they were extremely tough before, but I've just made them tough. Right. So now you've got your 7-week and your 12-week programs. You can be anywhere in the world and partake in those courses. I also do one-to-one coaching. We have a group coaching class as well, and I will be having a webinar just at the end of February to make sure that everybody knows exactly what we are doing and we're pulling it all together. So watch out for the new changes that are going to be happening as of the 1st of January 2022. It'd be great to have everybody on board for that, and just hold on and wait. Yeah, we got some really good special offers, but you can go to the website anyway, because there's a couple of free resources there that you can download as well. And that's www.musicmindwellbeing.com. Or you can find me, just Google me, Ann Phillips, MMW, and you will find me out there in Cyberworld.
Question.
Yes.
So you said that you allow well-being, and you have to be intentional about that, and you have to allow it. So what do you say to someone? Because I know that especially when we're talking about well-being, when we're talking about health, sometimes folks, they're very quote unquote set in their ways, or they're like, I am the way I am at this point. Maybe more mature in their age, and in their habits. What do you say to someone who, still has life, and opportunity to make those neural pathways, to do that healing, right? It's never too late to heal. What do you say to someone to kind of get them to see, like, it's never too late to make a journey like this, or to start that healing process?
One of the examples is the empty nesters, right? The children have, they've done college, they've gone out into the world, they've got their jobs, and they're living their lives. And, especially sometimes a wife will be like, well, what do I do now? And have you started to think about your self-care and how you put yourself first? And how you allow your self-being, your own well-being to come forward and manifest. And then when you start talking to people, well, what were your dreams and aspirations, before you poured into your whole family? What do you want to do now? And then they start talking about what they want to do now. And literally, the light bulb of the moment comes on of where they would like to see themselves. And that's when they start to visualize. And so they can be visualizing and dreaming. We take them through those steps as well, because we have visualization. So we take them through those steps as well to be able to understand that, yes, it's never too late. You can get to a point where it's like, actually, I actually wanted to go to school and take those classes. Yeah, but you can do. Oh, okay, right. So what do I need to do that? Okay, let's phone up. Let's find out the research. Let's go ahead and find out what exactly it's going to take. What is it going to take for you to get on that course? How much is it going to cost for you to get on that course? And before you know it, you've got like these 5 to 7 steps of how you wanted to get from one place to another place. And it causes them to move from being stuck to being unstuck, to thinking in different ways that they never thought before. And, with one particular married couple, it's very much a case of, he was like, yeah, but I was always encouraging you to do this. Sometimes it's not from within. They just need somebody from without. And it stimulates them to do something. And it's a beautiful thing. And before you know it, they're growing. And again, the marriage is refreshed. They're together. You're talking about the older couple here. It's refreshing to see they've gone to a new level. By the time one of them, or maybe both of them, have done this like refreshment of education, they've started a business, and they've started something that's really successful. And who would have thought? And the kids are really proud of them and everything. And it just spirals up. It's a funnel of upwards, and it's a really great thing. Does that answer your question?
Yes, absolutely.
So there you go, y'all. www.musicmindwellbeing.com. Get yourself some of those free packages. Also, the updated 7-week and 12-week is coming to you very, very soon. By the time this episode comes out, it will be coming out in like the day after this episode comes out. Awake will be ready for you.
There you go.
I got another question. And again, I told you random questions are going to come up. Feel free to swerve it if you want to. But how can we get anyone who is listening to the podcast or watching the podcast, can they get any type of special promotion on the Awake 7-week or 12-week?
Ooh, you've just put me on the spot. And it's like
2%, whatever you're willing to give. You can let us know on the back end, and we'll put whatever link you give us inside the description for folks to check it out.
Okay, I'll do that. I think really, and we'll do a whole 10% discount on the back of that. Yeah. And we'll make sure that it's available, and we will use your code of the TH4E. Yeah.
TH4.
Yeah, look at that.
TH4.
The TH4. I just remember the TH4. Right. So we will use that, and we will have it for a set time. We'll do it for like 14 days. etc. You can hold me to that because I'm saying it on camera. So, yeah, and we'll get that popping. We'll get that going. Yeah.
Thank you.
Oh, you see us fighting for y'all, right? So y'all bet if y'all watching, if y'all listening, again, make sure you click the link in the description. Claim your 10% off using the code TH4. This is going to be medicine for your mind, medicine for your soul. And tell a friend, right? Share what we're talking about here with someone else that you love, with someone else that you care about.
And if you're catching this on the replay and the 14 days has passed, that's just more incentive for you to get on these live podcasts.
That's the one. That's the one. There is something I did want to actually bring up, because some people do say, like, when music, you know, like I was saying about music being on your brain and it's like fireworks, right? Somebody said to me the other day, oh, I was listening to something and I was so relaxed, and I just I think I started dreaming. I don't know if I was awake or not awake.
Wow.
And I said, okay, so you're in a state of theta where, as in a brainwave, so where you're so relaxed that you're already visualizing, you're already working these things out. And it is a really great state to be when you're listening to music, because your creativity level, if ever you get stuck, and this is a tip, if ever you get stuck with a really demanding idea, a thought, a project, something that you have been really thumping through and you just cannot think of the answer, let it go. Let go. Put on something that is going to relax you to the point that you get to the theta state, THETA, right, of the brainwave. And you just relax. When you have relaxed for 10, 15 minutes, you're going to start thinking differently. And before you know it, you've had an idea. Do you ever think about when, like, you're in the shower, right? You think about something else, you're in the shower, and all of a sudden, an idea comes from nowhere.
Yeah.
Did you put a notepad and pen in the bathroom to write down? No, you're like, I've got to remember this. I will hold on to this one, right? It's the same thing.
That's okay.
Yeah, it's a moment where you just need to let go and just relax. So let those ideas come to those complicated challenges. Let me just put it that way. Complicated challenges. You will get answers and solutions when you hit deep relaxation, the moment of just before sleep, just as you wake up, or in the shower where you've let your mind go. Yeah, you get the answers. Just thought I'd give you that tip, guys. You're welcome.
All right.
Waking up like, oh, there it is.
Oh, never ever go to bed without putting a pen and paper beside your bed. Never. Always have your journal there, because it will be that, okay, so you've gone to bed like 10:30, 11 o'clock and you're sleeping away. Suddenly at 2 a.m. your eyes open, and that word, whatever word just came at you, or it was an idea, or it was a picture of something, you can quickly, I know it's dark, but you can quickly put on like your little lamp, whatever, write it out. Once you've let it go and put down, when you turn off the light, you will go back to sleep, because your brain will not be thinking about what it thought about when it woke you up. And you've already just put it down. So if you're in the same with, if you're in the shower, you know, if there's a place you can have a pen and paper, so that the minute you come out and you put on your robe, you can quickly write it down, you're good.
Need a robe.
We do need a robe.
And some waterproof ink.
No, so what we're gonna do is, all right. I don't know if it's in this house, but maybe in the next house there will be a whiteboard inside of. So you get out, get your whiteboard marker, and just write it real quick. I mean, you could write it on the mirror technically,
but that requires getting out of the shower.
You can write on the in the shower.
Oh, like on the door.
Yeah.
Oh.
Are we inventing stuff now?
This is like, this has been playing like, oh,
good. Yeah.
Listen, patented already. By the time you've listened to this episode, any shower whiteboard has been patented. Don't try it.
Actually, that is true. That one's patented because you guys in your game. The one I'm thinking of is like, Alexia, take this note.
Yeah. I hope they can do that. I feel like Google can do that.
I don't know if I
Google
trust them with my notes.
Listen,
Google can do that.
They got all the intellectual property. I feel like there's some clause in the terms that we accept, but we never read.
Right.
That says all ideas
Our game.
now sole
property of.
in the terms. Okay, so we are now to the Ask, Declare segment, Queen Ann. This is your opportunity to ask us any type of questions about our relationship, about our health journey, about our business journey. Before the podcast, we were already starting to have some good talks about that, but now, boom, your time. Any questions you may have?
Well, the one thing I want to know is with the board game, how did the actual conceptual moment of the board game, how did it come about?
The actual conceptual moment. So I'm gonna do a slight series of moments, right? So the main moment was I was working a summer camp, right? And the summer camp was a Village Nation summer camp. Shout out to Fluker and the entire team, much love. But in that camp, everyone needs to come up with a camper name. Kind of, it works out perfectly with this episode, actually, because the point of creating a camper name is you are removing your name, right? Devon, Sinclair, Ann, from whatever traumas may be associated with your name. So you come up with a new connection, right? A new name that everybody at the camp needs to call you. Butterfly, Queen Anne, Queen Sinclair, Beyonce, whatever it is. The camper name that I decided to come up with was Black Wall Street. And I came up with that name while driving up. I had my students with me. They were all saying their names. And they were like, what's your name going to be? I was just like, you know what? My camper name is going to be Black Wall Street. And they were like, what? And I was like, yeah, that's what it's going to be. So when I got up there, all the middle schoolers, high schoolers, nobody knew what Black Wall Street was. Right. So they would ask me, like, what is Black Wall Street? Is that the black stock market? Is that just a joke? Like, what does that mean? So I would explain it to them and they were still like, yeah, okay, that's cool. I get back down from the camp. I call the queen because there was no reception in the mountains. So I had to drive down to call her. And I was like, I have this idea, right? What if we take the history of Black Wall Street and we put it into a board game? What do you think? Her answer was like,
that has to be taken.
It has to be taken, right? That's too simple. That's too easy. Good idea, King, but I feel like someone already beat us to it, right? So that was the initial idea. It came from working with the students, working with middle school and high school students who didn't know about Black Wall Street, but they love games. They like playing games. I like playing games. So the idea was, if I can put information that's in a book, if I can put information that's in a documentary into a fun game, we can get more people to learn about it.
There you go.
Wow. He's like, because you stopped and I thought he's going to carry on. That is, I'm so like inside there. No, seriously, I love it. I love the fact that you're now putting it out there in schools and all the rest of it. Yeah. So when that idea came about for you, Sinclair, I know that you obviously thought, no, that can't be, and it's too simple. But what was your next move on all of that?
Is helping like the actual like creation, like the idea, right? Okay, let's create a board game. In theory, sounds great, but I think the actual gameplay of like, okay, so what's the object of the game? And like just talking through, I knew he had a lot of these ideas in his head, but it was just asking the questions, right? Okay, so what's the object of the game? How do you win? How do you lose? What's around the board? And then, helping with the actual gameplay of it, because that's my specialty, is poking holes in the plan and figuring out like, okay, but what about this? And then what about this? And then what about, that's usually when he's the visionary, right? So he'll come up with the vision, and then it's usually my job to figure out like, okay, how do we actually make this happen? And ask at the beginning, it's usually asking questions. That was kind of the next step. And then we actually mapped it out on a U-Haul board, and we played it with pins. What do you call them? Thumbtacks. Thumbtacks. We played it like those are our pieces. The immediate next step is really like asking the questions. Okay, what's the object of the game? How do you win? How do you lose? How do we make it so people are actually going to want to play the game? How do we make it kid friendly? Like all those types of things. That was, I believe, my next step, because that's typically the next thing that happens when he brings an idea, which is everything.
How did you go from doing all of that into your holistic health? Because you were helping him do all of that. And then, so he's retired you. I always find that an amazing thing to say. He's retired you. Oh, right. And you're now in your holistic area while he's producing the game, and the game has just, so how did that marry for you? How did that work for you?
So really what it did is serve as like inspiration for me. He is typically the leader in terms of like, we both kind of knew where our pockets were within the business. He's the financial health, spiritual health. That's kind of where he lies. And I've been more on the like physical, mental health, the social health, travel aspect of things. So we knew where our pockets were, but I didn't quite know like how to actualize what I wanted to do for folks. So it started off as like writing a blog or two, and then it turned into, the podcast, and how do I share all of the knowledge? I've been listening to podcasts and reading all these books. So I'm like, how do I actually share the knowledge of what I have to give to the world and actually help people heal? And so yeah, I think that's really the main thing that it did for me, is help see, okay, he had this idea that was in his head and actualize it into a board game that's now sitting on this table in front of me. How do I take this idea that's in my head and make it into something that people can experience, make it into something that people can, really touch and feel. So that's when the health coaching, came about.
Yeah.
And yeah, we kind of did the same process. It was my initial idea. Hey, this is what I want to do. This is how I want to help people. And then he would ask questions. He's good at asking the questions, right? Okay, well, what's the first step? And then really challenging me to take that next step. Great. How do we create a website? How do we get it on the website? How do you put it on your Facebook so that you can, start getting people free sessions? That's the way to start. Yeah, I think that's really how it started, is like the inspiration of taking an idea in your head and actualizing it into something that is helping the world. Being able to see that and being a part of that journey was very inspirational for my own, stepping into my gift and my talents and what I want to bring out to the world.
And it's so complementary, the way that both of you like really connect, and you know your pockets, how to cross over, and it is just the synergy is admirable. It's a blessing.
Thank you.
Very
You're
much.
welcome.
Yeah, we appreciate you. Come on now. Oh, beautiful, beautiful holistic podcast, right?
Oh, yeah,
We
it's a
talked
good
about
one.
a lot of really good stuff. Before folks get out of here, if you can please give them it can be one of the 5 that you already gave them, right? You gave them some good ones, but one practical step after leaving and listening to this podcast, what is one practical step that they can be doing to create those new neural pathways?
Neurogenesis. Same pathways, same thing.
Okay. Within their mind and within their life.
I would say trick your mind, because everybody has so many negative thoughts about themselves and their day and other people and what they're going to do, and the list goes on and on. So what you need to do is lay hold of that thought. So, oh, I can't go and do that thing. Stop for a moment. And actually, you can use the stop method. That is, you stop, you think, you literally ask yourself why, you observe, where am I when I'm thinking about this thing? Why am I thinking I can't? What is it that's causing that bit of pressure? And then before you proceed, some people like to pray, some people like to pause, literally just go silent for a moment. And then when you've done that, and you've got the answer to why you said, I can't do that thing, or whatever that negative thought is, then you proceed, you move on. But just literally ask yourself when you have that negative thought and it's giving you that feeling, and you know that feeling isn't a good feeling and you're a bit antsy, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Just ask yourself a question.
Mm.
And in asking yourself a question, you're going to change your thoughts.
Beautiful.
Love it.
There it is. Y'all quit playing. Go ahead and go to Music, Mind, Wellbeing. Change your mind, change your action, disrupt. Right? Love it. So thank you so much, Queen Ann, for tuning in and coming on the podcast. Definitely hope to have you come back again in 2022 to give us some more healing and share what amazing stuff you're doing. Queen, before we get out of here, quick updates or highlights you would like to have for the week?
Only thing I got is this is the last week that you'll be able to get a free health coaching session. So go ahead and grab yours at truehealthforever.com. Book your free 30-minute health coaching session. Hopefully you're listening to this live. But yes, that's what I got. Next week or next year, we have a new program launching. I'm working on it right now. So I'm excited for that. More info coming. But yes, definitely go and get your free health coaching session. Start 2022 off right, knowing what you need to do, knowing the habits that you need to adopt to reach your health goals. Don't wait until January. It's too late. You've already lost a couple of days. You're already behind the game at that point. So make sure you go ahead and book that right now.
There it is.
Awesome.
Go ahead. Play yourself.
Thank you for having me, guys. I really appreciate it. True health forever.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And then on this side, of course, make sure you go to playblackwallstreet.com. Get yourself a board game for Black History Month is right around the corner. Playblackwallstreet.com. Get yourself a game. We do ship to the UK. So if you a follower of Ann Phillips, right, and you rocking out there, you can still get a game too. We got you. Right after this, what we're doing is recording the voiceover for an animated series, The Black History Adventures of Rose and Rodney. So it's going to be, it's going to be very, very fun. Got my dad in the studio right here. What's going on, King Walker? Hey, how you doing? All right, cool. Got the siblings in the studio. We got Laura here. Joy's going to be joining us. So yeah, it's going to be really dope.
Rose and Rodney have a British cousin, right? Just saying. Because the British cousin needs to come and visit.
What's his or her name?
I was just thinking, Ruth.
There you go.
Ruth is going to come and visit.
Let's don't play like the queen.
It's already in the script. It's already in the script.
All right, well, you can play Ruth, and we can get you on here. No problem. It's already done.
I love it. I love it.
We appreciate y'all as usual for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast, where we try to live our best life through the lens of holistic health. I'm your host, Devon Truvel, creator of Black Wall Street, the board game.
I'm Sinclair, aka the Health Nerd.
We hope y'all stay healthy. We hope y'all stay mentally wealthy. And of course, we hope y'all stay
true. Thank you for tuning in to the True Health Forever podcast. We hope you learned something valuable that you can take and implement into your life. Now, we've all heard that sharing is caring, and this podcast is no exception. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend, a family member, a coworker, a stranger walking down the street, anybody who you think can level up from this message. As always, we appreciate your support, and we'll talk to you next week. Be well.